Okay, good morning all, and welcome to the fourth Automotive CFD prediction workshop. So hopefully everybody online will also be able to hear this properly, and welcome to all of you as well. We couldn't arrange any sunshine for today, unfortunately, so there's a little bit of rain for the in-people attendees here. But the Met Office assures me we're going to have sunshine tomorrow, so that will be good. But I think that lends to an ability to be able to focus more today on the fantastic presentations that we have at hand. So the first and obligatory, I will just move this out of the way. Obligatory fire safety announcement. So if you hear the fire alarm, please evacuate the building. There's fire exits here and over there. Please leave in a calm and orderly manner and make your way to the assembly point, which is the car park at this side, at the other side of the building here. And don't attempt to re-enter the building, even if the alarms have been silenced, until the fire wardens give the all clear. Okay, so that's the first of only two introduction slides from my side, because we want to make the most of the technical sessions here. It's a quick introduction. If you haven't been to Queen's University Belfast before, we were founded in 1845 by Royal Charter. We're a member of the Russell Group, which is the top UK research intensive institutions. The hall that you're in today was built in 1915 as a hall of residence for female students at the university, which it's operated as until 1975. And then after 1975, it became the home of the School of Management, which you'll see the buildings over there. And we have this wonderful renovation, which you're currently sitting in here. Now, in terms of connections of turbulence and automotive aerodynamics and Belfast, two that I'd like to draw your attention today, which is quite interesting. So, William Thompson, who is famous Lord Kelvin, was born here in Belfast. And coincidentally, in 1887, William Thompson was the first person to coin the usage of the word turbulence when referring to the chaotic and unsteady nature of fluid flow. So this is highlighted in this paper. In the very first page, they're the smallest of the dimples and little round hollows which we see on the surface produced by turbulence when the motion is turbulent. So over 130 years of turbulence here in Belfast. And we can also lay claim to be the birthplace of Osborne Reynolds, which I think is not widely known. So 3 Donegal Place in Belfast was the birthplace of Osborne Reynolds on the 21st of August, 1842. Unfortunately, we can only lay claim to the first 3 months of his life. He then moved over to England, but I'm sure those first 3 months were the really formative ones. Okay, so that's a quick introduction. If we walk down to the banquet at the end of the session today, we'll be walking past this lovely statue of Kelvin in the Botanical Gardens. Right, going to hand over now to Neil, who will give an introduction to the workshop series itself.
All right. Firstly, thanks, Ben, for organising this. Anyone who's probably organised a conference or workshop knows all the hard work. So, yeah, thanks for everything so far, and hopefully we can have a nice toast to it at the meal later. So probably some people are already aware of what is AutoCFD. There may be a few people who maybe this is the first time coming. So just very briefly, this was really started in 2018 with a sort of shameless desire to mirror what the high lift and drag prediction and aeroacoustics have been doing over in the US through the AIAA, to be able to do that for more the automotive community. And whilst there were definitely workshops and groups that did meet to do it, I don't think it was at the same scale that had been done over in the US for the aerospace side. And so the idea was that if we could try and have more mandatory geometries and boundary conditions and conditions, it helps us to compare more fairly across. But the focus has always been on growing a community, and I'm pleased that at least the feedback I've had is that this has largely been done in a sort of friendly, transparent way and hasn't turned into just a pure competitive thing. And I think you'll see that people openly share results that are sometimes preliminary and almost show when things go wrong. And I think that should actually be encouraged. This is not about the best answer. This is trying really to develop best practices, which I think everyone agrees is useful. So I think this workshop has to give credit to the workshops before that was organised. So most recently in Barcelona, so thanks to Herbert and Oriel, and then in Berlin, which was a challenging time, right, still in the middle of COVID, that Charlie and the upstream team did, and Gary and I kicked it off in Oxford in 2019. So for AutoCFD4, we were conscious of wanting to try new things, but also keeping some stuff the same. We decided to keep essentially the same test cases because we felt there was a lot of burden of work for people to get used to a new test case, to sort of go through those initial logistics of handling the meshes and cases. And we saw that a lot of people in AutoCFD3 still had many unanswered questions, even on the existing test cases. So we decided to actually keep them essentially the same to allow there to be a continuation of that research. The second thing that we did was we were conscious that sometimes in previous workshops there was gave you the geometry and the conditions, we didn't hear from you for 6 months or 9 months, and then suddenly it was all the presentations. And often it was the workshop itself where there was the most discussion. So we felt if we could change, and again, a bit of a shameless, I'll use the word about inspiration, shall we say, from what was happening on the high-lift workshop, this technology focus group where we split into these 5 different areas, and instead of it just being right at the end of the workshop today, there's been meetings going on really for the past year, every month. And we can debate at the end of this how people felt that went, whether it was good or a bad thing, but I think it certainly helped to have more discussion and not just be a final result. We also created we tried something a bit new with this AI/ML focus. It probably in hindsight this has been a little bit too early, but I still think it's been good, and we'll talk about more of that on Friday. Hopefully it's kickstarting some useful data sets that people will be able to explore over the coming years. Okay, very quickly. So Gary and Burkhard, who's going to be speaking next, have more of these statistics. But we had, I think, around 124-ish submissions of data. So thanks to everybody who actually spent the time. I know it's a long effort to collect all of your simulations in the spreadsheets and send them in. So I think we have about 26 talks. I think there's about 60 people registered here and 37 online at the moment. And there's about 650 people on the mailing list. So I'm really pleased that it's sort of growing and hopefully it's still useful for everybody. All right, so it's in your delegate is the agenda. Apologies about the CET. This is mainly for people online who logged in about an hour ago, but hopefully you've managed to have a coffee and a more gentle start to your day. So we're going to go through, we'll start off by having more of a sort of overall summary of case 1 and case 2, but really the main, I think, discussion topics will happen inside these sort of TFG blocks where we'll have presentations. And then tonight we have obviously the meal, and maybe then you can talk more later about the logistics for that. And then tomorrow we've got more of that, and then the final afternoon will be, which I think will be interesting, a sort of automotive OEM panel discussion, which I think is useful for anybody who's not at an OEM to really hear the things that they want. And then an opportunity to discuss what's going to happen next. Should just say all of the slides and each of these presentations is being recorded. And so we will put them on the website afterwards. So for people online watching, or for people here that for whatever reason can't make a certain day, if you have to leave early, it will all be recorded and you'll be able to find it on the website probably in the next week or so. All right, well, we have quite a packed schedule. And so we probably will be quite brutal in terms of cut-off times. So with that, I think Burkhard, Gary, you're going to go first.